The kitchen was quiet, almost as if it knew it was about to remember something long forgotten. The silence was not empty, it was heavy with time. Dust floated gently in the air as pale morning light slipped through a small window. On the wooden table lay simple ingredients: grains poured loosely from cloth sacks, rough root vegetables still carrying traces of soil, and dried spices wrapped in faded fabric. There was nothing polished here, nothing modern, no shine, no convenience. 100 years ago, meals were not about presentation or speed. They were about survival, tradition, and patience. He had come into this space not just to cook, but to listen to history. The table bore marks of age, scratches, stains, and small burns that told stories of countless meals prepared long before his time. He ran his fingers slowly across its surface, imagining how many hands had worked here before his own. Back then, kitchens were not places of creativity or luxury. They were places of responsibility. Food meant life, and every grain mattered. He opened old notebooks carefully, their pages yellowed and fragile. The ink had faded, but the intent remained. Recipes were written without precision. No grams, no minutes, no temperatures. Instead, there were phrases passed down through generations. A handful, until ready, slow fire. These words assumed knowledge, experience, and intuition. Cooking was not learned from books alone. It was learned by watching, by doing, by failing, and by remembering. Beside the notebooks lay faded photographs, families standing stiffly, kitchens barely visible in the background. Faces were serious, shaped by work and uncertainty. He studied them closely, searching for clues hidden between the lines and shadows. Each image felt like a doorway into a life where food was never guaranteed. Every step he took now felt unfamiliar, yet deeply human, as if he were borrowing movements from the past. As he began to prepare the ingredients, time seemed to slow. There was no rush, no distraction. He measured by feel, trusting instinct over instruction. A clay pot was placed over an open flame, and the fire responded softly, crackling with patience. As the pot warmed, the room slowly filled with aromas rarely found in modern kitchens. These were deep, earthy smells, smells that once drifted through village homes and crowded city quarters alike. Those aromas carried memory. They spoke of early mornings and long days, of meals cooked after hours of labor. Back then, families gathered around a single table, sharing what little they had. Children waited quietly, elders spoke softly, and every meal was an act of gratitude. Food was not just eaten, it was respected. Every dish carried the weight of seasons, weather, and uncertainty. As steam rose gently from the pot, he imagined the hands that once prepared this same dish. Hands rough from work, marked by time, yet moving with confidence learned over generations. Those hands knew how much heat was enough, when to stir and when to wait. There were no refrigerators, no packaged foods, no shortcuts. Everything had to be made fresh, and nothing could be wasted. Leftovers were rare, and abundance was temporary. He thought about how closely food and survival were connected. A failed harvest meant hunger. A missed season meant hardship. Cooking was not a hobby, it was a necessity, a responsibility carried mostly in silence. And yet, within that necessity, there was care. Even in the simplest meals, there was intention. The fire burned low and steady, just as the old notes instructed. He waited, listening to the subtle sounds of cooking, the soft bubbling, the gentle shift of heat. Waiting was part of the process, just as it had always been. Patience was not optional, it was required.